let's go ahead and get started. Is it working? Yeah, they're working. Okay. We'd like to welcome Randy to his inaugural workshop. Randy Madrid, our new planning commissioner. You were sworn in at the last council meeting, correct?
Actually, this
Or no?
afternoon.
This afternoon. Okay. Very good. So he's official. Maybe at the regular meeting you can give us a little 2-second bio and say hi to everybody, okay? So we'll go ahead and open our workshop up for the lakes. Do we have a staff report or intro here?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is a pre-application review workshop, and I would ask Lisa Gordon, who's the planning manager and project manager for this, to review it with the commission, and we'd be happy to address questions the commission may have.
Okay.
Good evening, Lisa Gordon presenting this pre-application review. It's for 54 single-family residential lots. The project site is located.
Is your microphone working?
Should be.
I don't think it's...
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I
There we
didn't
go.
want to hit it too hard. The project site is located south of Newport Road, north of Rockport Road, and east of Laguna Vista Drive. It's within the Lakes Development, Master Plan Development. The zoning for the site is Specific Plan 247. It's called the Menifee East Specific Plan, and it's in Planning Area 2, very high density residential, and Planning Area 3, a daycare. The proposed zoning would be medium residential, 5,000 square foot lots. The surrounding zoning includes the Menifee Lakes Specific Plan 158, Planning Area 3-1 to the north, which is commercial. To the south, you have the Menifee East Specific Plan, Planning Area 5, which is a medium density residential with 7,200 square foot lots. To the east is the same specific plan, Planning Area 6, medium density residential with 6,000 square foot lots. And to the west, the Menifee East Specific Plan, Planning Area 1, commercial. The project is for the preliminary review of a proposal for the development of 54 single-family residential lots with a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet, including 1 lot for a sewer lift station and 4 open space lots for landscaping and or water quality. The project site is 12.43 gross acres. The specific plan designates Planning Area 2 for very high density residential with a target density of 17 dwelling units an acre and 166 dwelling units. Planning Area 3 is designated for a daycare, but if the daycare is not developed, the specific plan states that the site can be developed with a density of 17 dwelling units an acre with a maximum of 32 units. A total of 198 dwelling units were anticipated within this property, assuming that the daycare did not develop. The proposed project is not consistent with the specific plan land use designation. The density of the proposed project is about 4.4 dwelling units an acre, and there are only 54 dwelling units proposed. A specific plan amendment application will be required to modify the specific plan so that the underlying land use is consistent with the proposed project. If this project were approved, if they submit a formal application and it's brought back to the commission and council, the entire development, the master plan development, would consist of single-family residential lots. The range in lot size would be 5,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. This might not be consistent with the vision of the city's general plan to provide an array of housing choices for a variety of life stages and lifestyles. There would be an impact to the housing element and to the city's RENA. The project site was identified in our housing element as a site with the potential to help meet the city's need for property designated 14 to 20 dwelling units an acre to accommodate the dwelling units required per the regional housing needs assessment. An alternative site would need to be identified to ensure that there are adequate and available sites to meet the RENA per the government code. And per SB 1241, on government code. If the housing element is revised, the safety element must be reviewed and possibly updated to address the risk of
Is
fire
that the safety element of the general plan or of the specific plan?
of the general plan.
Of the general plan, okay.
It's a newer requirement that went into effect January 1st, 2014. During the due diligence meetings with the applicant, staff provided some direction on the following recommendations. Provide a buffer along Newport and Laguna Vista Drive to reduce noise impacts. There are some residences that are pretty close to Newport, and noise impacts are an issue. Ensure that there is a connection to the overall lakes system, trail system. The lakes community is gated, and there should be connectivity between the two neighborhoods. So we want to make sure that this development has access to all the trails and facilities in the rest of the development. And the specific plan zoning ordinance currently contains a requirement for a minimum front, rear, and side yard setback of 18 feet because high density was anticipated in this site, so that's why they were looking at 18-foot setbacks. So that would need to be amended as part of the specific plan amendment if the applicant moves forward with reducing the density of the planning areas.
The current setback of single-family residence, is it the 10 and 5 or 10 and what is it?
It's 20 feet in the front, 10 in the back, and 5 on the sides. And if it's adjacent to a street, it's 10 on the side.
Okay.
For the daycare site, the specific plan does state that the daycare is optional only. The applicant prepared a feasibility study for a daycare facility, and that was included in your packets. This study determined that there are sufficient daycare facilities in the trade area to meet demand. The demand and demographics for daycare facilities within the trade area are not sufficient to attract a corporate daycare provider. Residents within the trade area fall below the typical threshold of median household incomes to attract a corporate daycare operator, and the subject site is larger and located further from employment centers than corporate providers typically desire. So the report concluded that the project site does not serve as a viable daycare site. And since the submittal of the report, the city has completed its Parks Master Plan, which did identify daycares and programming for youth and children as a need for our community. And although development of residential in Planning Area 3 would eliminate a possible daycare site, the specific plan did note that this was an optional land use and there may be other locations that can accommodate daycare facilities. At this time, staff recommends that we conduct the open to public workshop and provide feedback to the project applicant. This concludes staff presentation.
Thank you. So do we have, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you want here?
Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Steve Ford. I'm with Pulte Group. Pulte Group is the mother company for Pulte Homes, Centrex Homes, and Del Webb. The Lakes was a project under Centrex, and currently under the current marketing, this is a Pulte project, even though the land is owned under the Centrex. Swap back and forth, so you're saying. I have with us our attorney, Kelly Ladd, and our engineering firm, Rubric Engineering, is present. So there's something that I'm not able to answer, I'm going to turn around and give that blank book, and they're going to give me all the assistance. Thank you for taking the time tonight to hear our proposal. This is not being done in a vacuum. It's been done from a study standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a direction standpoint, and a needs analysis. We've gone through focus groups. We've spent time with not only the realtors in the marketplace, but we've also done focus groups with homeowners and buyers that want to purchase, not only in this region, but also in sub-regions. And so coming from that, we then analyze our position in our marketplace and in our property holding. And we looked at what the needs were for the area. And part of that has been driven by what you see here, which has been taken in from a high density, which we didn't feel that there was a need for that, even though your housing element has different elements of need. But to provide a opportunity for first-time home buyers, and as well as move down, which is your senior that does not want to live in a age-restricted, but still wants to have a lifestyle and be close to the proximity to their family. So that's the driving force behind the analysis and looking at it. And then before you is a plan that it takes those two planning areas, planning area 2 and planning area 3, and combining them to create 54 lots within a single family residential site. And we'd like to have your input on that, because what we're trying to do is to actually provide a different market segment that's not out there today. And that our market segment is going to be addressed by being able to provide an affordability range that's tied to the market on the lower end of the pricing spectrum. While we're still tying into what Lisa has said with the lakes, we are annexable property, just so you're aware of that, to the association. So all of the benefits of the lakes and the master association apply to this property also. And then this property would be proposed to have its own sub-association, since it would be gated also, because it is outside the normal gates of the lakes. And so we would have the sub-association would then maintain the open space areas that are provided within the tract that we have laid out here for you today, and the streets and infrastructure in the interior. So between those two right there, then we then providing for the same amenities. We do have connectivity to the lakes, and so that would be able to be addressed as one of the concerns that staff had had.
Quick question on that. So connectivity, but will they be charged HOA fees for the pool and all the clubhouse, and will they have access to the clubhouse?
They are annexable property, so we would be annexing to the association, so they do pay all the fees that are there currently.
Okay.
They also then have another layer of fee, if you want to call it that, for the sub-association.
Oh, okay.
And the sub-association then controls the direct access gates and the open space that's within that area, because that's only for them, because it's a smaller area. And we want to provide some additional open space within that little composite area of the 54 lots.
So they could use the main pool and the main clubhouse and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the trails and systems that are there today.
Where's the open space you're talking about?
The open space, if you're looking at the mapping area, as you come in the main entry, there's a lot C, which is in the front there, to the right. There is, oops, no, it'd be on the actual map. That's the parcel map.
Talking about the one we just had, the track map?
No, do you have this one?
That was up there. Can we go back?
Yeah, that was
to
the one we just had up there.
There we go. So where, I see lot A.
You come in at the very bottom, and then you come straight at the entry gate right there, and you come into the right. There's lot C is right there. Lot A is to the far left on the right, which is about 7,200 square feet. And then we have lot B, which is up to the end of the cul-de-sac at the top left. And that is about 5,200 square feet. And then we have another open space lot that's actually much larger, which is the lot D, which is along the north edge. And we're working with EMWD with relationship to the lift station that's to the right, that was discussed there earlier, in order to provide sewer connectivity and the water lines, so we can then not have a small strip of landscaping there which has sewer and water line easements on it.
And are any of these lots A, B, C, or D water quality basins?
We had originally looked at lot A as being potentially water quality, but no, it's been designed so we're going to be ramping everything to the east, and so that it follows the normal drainage plan of the SP.
What is lot 55? What is lot 55?
Lot 55 is currently a lift station, sewer lift station, with easements for water treatment.
And how far is this, well, let me back up. Are there any amenities planned for these open space, or are they just supposed to be just grass?
No, we will provide with the map, when we, part of what we want to hear from you today is what amenities would you like to see in there. We proposed dog park, we proposed some tot lot. We're trying to hit both spectrums of the market, which is going to be the first-time home buyers, who might have either no kids or young kids, and also to move down within would be your senior population, so they would have, some sitting areas and some calmer recreational areas. And they also then have the full amenities over at the lakes, too. So we
But that's quite a distance from this.
It's actually less than half a mile inside. Actually, it's an easy walk from the main gate here out into the entry.
Yeah, the lakes is a gated community as well.
This
Will
is
they be-
this is part of the lakes.
Okay.
This will be part of the lakes, yes.
You're saying it's a separate gate, but it's the
Yes,
same,
separate
they'll have
gate.
access to the lakes. They'll have access to the full lake usage and the lagoon pool and all of that.
And all the trails connecting are inside the gate of the southern portion of this, like the project just to the south of this, the lakes element just south of this?
Lakes element, yeah, any of the trails and the systems there, we did.
They're all within the gates though, right?
I believe so.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know for positive.
Okay. So go, I'm sorry, we were peppering you with questions. Go ahead and finish your presentation.
And that's what we're looking for, is that feedback and input. We recognize that an SB amendment would be required, so that the zoning then can be in conformance, and also then setbacks and everything else can be addressed with that. We did talk about the consistency of the vision of the general plan. This opportunity here does provide for another housing element and another housing mix that is not currently there. And currently from 6 to 10, so it goes down to a smaller, and also and provides a niche. And that truly is a niche, because we're looking at that because the physical lots being smaller, and not having to provide for a larger 400 lot, which would be a whole bigger market segment. As far as design elements, we understand the zoning for the front yards and side yards, and we'll address that when we come back with your recommendation. The daycare center, we did a full study, market analysis on the daycare center, and they came back, I don't know if you had a chance to read it, it was provided in the report. But basically, the short version of it is that there are enough daycare centers out there that are not utilized, and that another daycare center would not be marketable. And so we looked at that from the standpoint of our holding, and said, okay, it's gonna be another business for somebody else, someplace else that they would add to it. Staff comments about the park, maybe the park.
Can we stop, back up to the daycare? I was looking at this, I noticed that most of the ones that are in the city, all of them are all in-house basically daycare, but the corporate ones are, none of them are in the city. They're Temecula, Murrieta, Winchester. So I just want to make sure, am I correct in analyzing this, that all the corporates are all outside the city?
Correct. What we did was we analyzed all of the opportunities within the city, and then what would be available, and what they're underutilized is what it's showing right now.
Okay.
I have one question about the daycare as well. It seems that your source material was based on an average income of, I think it was.
Varied. It varied from 50 to 80, yeah.
Right, and that, the area there
To 75.
is 75. I was just wondering why you chose that rather than get a corporate that would tailor to the needs and the income of that area.
Well,
It was something that kind of stuck in my mind because,
the market analysis was done separately, so that I didn't direct anything on it. They looked at it from the standpoint of key elements of could someone come in there with a daycare, and how would they function, and what would be the market segment that they'd be looking for.
but was an analysis of the existing areas there part of that criteria?
Every
Because if you did an analysis of the area there, then the income level would have been obvious, and you could tailor your corporates, or your corporates could tailor to meet that. Because I firmly believe that there is a demand in that area.
I'm only going to know what the market study was done by
Okay.
independent, because we didn't drive it at all. We said, go out, find out what's there, what's existing, what's availability, and what it showed was that there was basically an unmet availability. There's more opportunities that they within the existing, within the city, that are underutilized. And so by adding another one, it would take away and would not make it economically feasible. Forgetting market income, what people can look at that, so we try to provide that to you as an opportunity to review.
Commissioner Doty, you have a question?
I was just saying that the 12 family daycare centers, I think, are all within that 3-mile radius, if I'm reading the report right. So those weren't included in the out-of-town daycare centers.
They're all basically in-home stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see a Montessori, kindergarten, you don't see those in that area. And if they were coming into that area, they would be seeing a need and be able to be fulfilling that need from the purpose. We didn't see it in that.
Along those lines, I've got two questions for staff. Number one, in the staff report, I thought, Ms. Gordon, I heard you say that the city analysis was that there was a need for daycare. That seems to be directly in conflict with what they're saying is that the current daycare is underutilized. So what's that based on?
The Parks and Parks Master Plan was created by our Community Services Department with help from a consultant that specializes in these types of plans. They looked at what our existing facilities are, and they did questionnaires and workshops with the public to determine what the people in the community wanted, and then they prioritized those wants and looked at, well, how many people want this versus that, and that's how they generated the needs assessment.
So that analysis was essentially a poll of the citizenry, whereas theirs is a market analysis.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, with regard to this being an optional use, at whose option is it?
The specific plan doesn't specify.
So theoretically, we could say, we think there needs to be a daycare center there, and they can say, no, we're going to put high-density housing on it at their option?
Well, they still have to come to the city for your approval of their plans in general.
But just from a legal standpoint, do we have any basis to deny them, forgetting the single-family housing, if they just say, we're going to abandon the single-family housing and we choose to put high density on there, and we say, no, we want daycare, do we have the authority to override their desire for high density with it being optional?
You'd have to make the findings. I mean, if you feel that the daycare component is necessary in order for you to make the findings to approve the project, then yes. Then it could be a required component, but we'd have to see what the application entails.
All right, and then I'll turn my next question to you. I'm sorry, all these things are coming to mind. With this single family, this is really blowing my mind a little bit because this is the first development I've seen that wants to change from high density to single family. Most of the developers we get in here saying, please, can we get rid of these single family, put up giant apartment buildings because it's way more money for us. Is this a feasible project with single family housing the way you've designed it and the daycare? Or does it have to be all single family housing to make this project feasible?
I believe the answer to that would be, it would have to be the whole area.
That's kind of what I was thinking the way this is laid out.
In fairness, I'd actually have to go back and look at the layouts, I'd have to look at how things work. But I think if I went back to corporate and I said, this is what we have there, I'm going to probably pretty much tell you that it would need to be combined.
And have your people looked at the Parks Department's findings regarding their poll of the citizenry regarding the need for daycare?
They have not, because it was looking out with the staff report, and I was looking at the standpoint of my personal, without running it up the ladder. But from the standpoint of the general plan, what we've done in other areas, which is really after-school programs, and been very, very successful with that, whereas combining, with, like I said, the YMCA and or other entities that come in and have after-school programs to provide, daycare. Usually the that's not in the considerations. Usually, what do you do with children after school if the parents are working? I guess that's not really a daycare, it's actually an after-school care program, which then combines other things.
Right. All right, thank you.
Was there an consideration of the impact of the community that you have designed here as far as more kids? Was that factored into your analysis? I mean, what I'm looking at is that we have a community here with 54 houses. X number of these houses are gonna have kids.
They're going to create the need for a daycare center by building this facility.
Exactly. And I was just wondering, was that factored into your final analysis?
Actually, that was not. I'll be straight up with you. It was not a thought pattern because the averaging is 2.8, per household. We're looking at, like I said, is a first-time home buyer, which is probably a couple or single individual. So we have that spectrum. And the other spectrum coming down, which would be, the parents that are older, getting rid of their larger home, coming down to a smaller home, more affordability, but staying close in proximity and still having the guard, not guard gate, but a gated community for security, for extra security, and having amenities that are available to them for the grandchildren to come over with everything for them to play. So we have a mixture. We're going to be less, I think, in population and density than what we would be if we were I'm going to call it a larger or normal. But if we're in the lakes. We're in the lakes where we build under Centex. We had your 3 and 4 person households larger, and we anticipate that. So we're hitting that niche, which is what I'm saying is that we're hitting the rise up and come down, and it becomes a market-driven affordability, pricing point, so that we can be under that marketplace to be able to meet that need. And the comment about increased density, and you had it as far as more and more. We looked at the whole area as far as apartments and availability and rents and what was there, and we basically want to do what we do best, which is to build single-family homes. And in single-family homes, we can provide that same home just slightly more than we'd be paying for an apartment. And so that's what we wanted to do here, is provide that niche and then hit that marketplace. And it's much better for us economically than it would be for the marketplace.
Okay.
And so from the input standpoint, I mean, what is the commission's thought process as far as, after questioning as far as coming from high density, coming down in density? We talked a little bit about the recreational element that's in there. What would you like to see there, I mean, as far as cost, because we want to provide the best we can.
I'm kind of thinking that a dog park might be handy, just because they are such small lots that if it's an elderly couple that have a dog, it's not going to have a lot of room to run around. I prefer the single family over multifamily, and to kind of do some of Earl's comments that because of the less dwelling units, it might actually decrease the amount of kids, or at least break even. But yeah, I think, in terms of a tot lot, with a small little playground, it's nice. I just don't know where you'd really put it. And most, like you're saying, it's a single family or a entry-level housing person that will have a younger kid. So that's where I think maybe a dog park might be a little higher priority with the park bench.
Well, I remember having my first house, and we went to the park a lot, all those little tot lot things. So, but you can do a combo. It doesn't have to be just that. Any other comments, Randy?
I'd like to know what you would prefer for in place of the
For recreational
daycare.
and open space?
Yeah.
Well, but we were thinking, quite honestly, I've got our proposal that we were working on. We want to hear what you had to say and then be able to present the best we could to you in the hearing. But the lot C is on the entry. We want to have something there that's a little bit more passive. And a little bit of a rebuilt atmosphere coming into the community. So that would be an opportunity there for a little bit of a little sale type of thing there, and have bench area and maybe some additional B is where we thought we were looking at dog park as a potential. And it's one of those things where, again, we want to put it to the outside portion, so that way it could be contained and also be able to be maintained very well also.
That upper left-hand corner, the northwest corner, the NAP not a part, is that an easement for a setback for like landscaping on the corner there? Is that what that is?
That's actually landscaping and monument.
And monument, okay, okay,
That's the big monument wall.
yeah,
And
okay.
we're pulling everything back from the Newport Road, as you can see there, and so we've got the landscape, we'll have a block wall, we're proposing on the exterior, as well as the landscaping area along the road.
Well, that brings up another question is, along Newport, what's the setback on Newport of, is there gonna be like a meandering sidewalk with a 15-foot landscaping, or what is it along there?
There should be a 21-foot parkway. I don't,
Easement from the parkway, you saying setback from the?
from the curb, basically. So between the lane, the paved lane, and the wall, there should be 21 feet. That would include landscaping and a sidewalk. I don't believe it's, because there's a sidewalk on the west side of Newport, west of Laguna Vista Drive. I don't believe it's meandering. I think it's just a straight sidewalk, so it'd probably just be a straight sidewalk.
I just didn't want was a cinder block wall right along Newport. I wanted setback was,
There should be 21 feet,
21 feet, okay.
unless there's a topographical constraint that would limit the right-of-way parkway. So,
Speaking of the topographical characteristics of that, there are a couple of low points that have been, that I noticed immediately after the last rain. We got some water quality management problems. Yeah, it's, just piggybacking on what Ms. Gordon was saying, that 21 feet's going to include a natural drainage area that's just to the south of the road there. And that's already been, it looks like somebody just put in a drainage ditch right along that area.
I'll take a look at that.
Okay. When I looked at this plan, and I sure wish I had a bigger one, I didn't see any water quality basins or anything like that to take care of the existing standing water. That is a low point, hydrologically speaking, for that whole area. You've got runoff coming from the mountain to the east that's going through that one neighborhood. And at one time, before they built Newport Road, that was part of a natural drainage area. And that road there kind of forms an embankment to the north and to the south, and the south part being your lot. And I was just wondering, have you addressed the standing water that most likely will be there if we start getting more rain?
I'll leave that to the engineering department, or to the engineering head.
That would probably, you normally would stick that in a grading plan, but it was just something that kind of stood out to me while I was over there looking at it.
We've provided, on the plan that you have, you see the storm drain that's in the street, when you come in the main entry to the right, and it does pick up all the water that's in that area there, and it takes it up to the existing, storm drain, and then pulls it off over to the existing area.
Now, that's,
But we will provide when we submit, we'll provide all the hydrology that's there, and the grading plan, and grading plan, and be able to show you that we have addressed any water quality issues and any of the drainage issues. I think that'd be a better way of maybe.
all right, thank you.
No.
Is that acceptable? Okay.
It looks like you've got oh, it's only emergency access, okay. So there's only one in and out there, okay.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
provide emergency access, I meant to state that, and it's on that, and that would be basically locked,
Any other comments, Earl?
Yes, I had a problem with the number of houses on these streets. It looks like the street is approximately 150 feet long, and you got 14 houses on it. I think the first thing I noticed was that you want 5,000 square foot lots. The first question I would have is how big are the houses on those lots? And second, why so many houses one block, like Street A, I think you have 13, Street C is 14. I was just wondering, could you make this work with a little bit larger lot, say maybe 6,000?
Actually, the smallest lot was proposed is a 5, and the largest is actually 7,200 square feet. So there's a variety there, and so when we talk about the 5,000 square foot, it's actually the smallest lot that is shown, and the rest of them are actually larger than that. So they're averaging 53 to 54 range, which is averaging across all of them. And we say is, can you make larger lots? It's really trying to come in with a constraint with a sizing that works for the economic model, and it's laying it out on a lot, on a street basis of how many lots in years, and that's really what it's done.
Are these lots, Lisa, in the setback allow for a regular driveway, or is this the street parking thing?
Yeah, they would have to provide a 20-foot driveway for a single-family residential.
Earl, to address your traffic issue, my cul-de-sac has 20 houses on it. Yeah. And I live in Heritage Lake, and I don't think I ever have to wait for a neighbor. So I don't think it's that big of an issue.
It's just something that the design itself stood out, and some of the neighborhoods that I went through, you've got pickup trucks, you've got second and third vehicles, and then toys. And I looked at this and I said, that's just basically too many houses. But if you're comfortable with that, I just think it's a little too congested. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, that's something
I
if,
don't have a problem with 5,000 square foot.
if the HOA or the sub-HOA limits on-street parking, that's going to be a key factor here because there isn't going to be much. What's the plan, the staff report mentioned this, and I noticed it as well. What's the plan for noise abatement on the perimeter houses?
Along Newport?
Along Newport, the block wall and landscaping.
How high?
Usually probably 6 foot. We're gonna have to do a sound study, and that's usually what I try to do, make sure that we're sensitive to all of that. And then we'll have that study done, so we will then be able to tell you exactly what size it needs to be. Maybe it's a 7-foot wall, I'm not sure, but on some perimeter.
Lisa, if it
We're
w-
falling back away from Newport. We're close at the edge there of Laguna Vista, and if you look, Newport flares off, and our track is down this way here. So the lots that are really would be affected would be the lot 15 and lot 30 is what I would see there. The two lots that would be the most potentially affected on the numbering system there. But again, if you let us submit that to you for review, once we have done sound study. And then also to add in, Mr. Coleman talking about traffic, we've already initiated through staff traffic study, so that we can then show how this complies in with the overall area, and making sure that the things are changed. This is an old city plan.
Yeah.
The city's general plan was actually done in what, 14?
2013.
Yeah.
And so, from the standpoint of it should have all that in the general plan, but we're doing that as a secondary study that will be provided to the commission.
If you look immediately to the northeast, that's part of the same development, right? Right here?
That flare up?
Right up here, up to the, not in the project site, but
Yeah.
up here,
hard
there's
to
the
read.
lake and then the houses. That's part of the same, is that the same? I'm looking at this diagram here.
The aerial view?
Aerial view,
Can you get us to the photograph of the aerial view? There you go.
Sorry to interrupt. That's part of the lakes right there, or no?
No, that's a separate development.
That's a separate development, okay.
Terra? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's,
It's part of the Menifee Lake specific plan.
Is it public, is that around the lake, is there a walk around that lake or no?
That's a gated community.
That's all.
That's a different neighborhood.
Well,
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying, if it was public, we could have some connectivity there too, but it's
Yeah.
not, so,
No, I think that's not even part of the lakes. That's a whole nother.
another,
That's a whole
okay,
nother
Development.
complex.
okay,
And it's gated as well.
okay, okay. Go ahead, Earl, sorry.
Oh,
I think if you go straight, that was the old alignment of Newport Road, straight through there.
Straight in there,
Yeah.
yeah.
actually, no.
Okay,
The only real aversions that I had was the number of houses per lot. And I thank Mark for bringing me up to speed.
No, you made me look it up and I counted. Yeah.
I just have a problem with that many houses packed into that small area. And that's something that goes way back in my childhood. So, I just was kind of sort of hoping that you could maybe cut down on the number of houses per block there. Make the lots a little bit bigger. I think they would be more accommodating as far as quality of life would be concerned, but I understand that's the new normal.
And it is driven through focus groups and stuff. I mean, it's not just stick stamp it and go. And it's really done by what a market is requesting to be there. And it does provide a different housing element.
I have some comments, so do you have any more comments, Randy?
No, I realize this is a preliminary layout, so all the questions will be addressed by all the different departments. Engineering will address the hydrology, acoustics.
Did I address your comments about what? Did you have anything else?
I was wondering what you would prefer in place of the daycare, specifically a daycare. If you put the daycare, because it was already designated there.
The daycare was a planning area in the specific plan. And so what we're doing is we're combining the daycare area, planning area, and the high density planning area together. Daycare in the specific plan, if it doesn't go to daycare, have high density zoning. And so by doing that, we then combine and have a larger higher density.
Okay, going back to Earl's question about the lot sizes. So you need a number of lots to make this economically feasible, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's where you're at right now?
That's where we're at.
Okay, and I have one more question. I see one point of access, but like I said, this is a preliminary plan.
There's actually the street.
I see, okay, it's just not connected,
And I apologize, I didn't get in.
but it's a preliminary.
It is a secondary access.
Okay.
It's going to be for emergency access only, and if there's if the main area is, for whatever reason, shut down, I'll do the
Why can't that be ingress egress?
It's good thought. It's good.
I mean, if I live there, I would prefer it to be,
Maybe not egress, but maybe egress. I'll take that
okay,
and come back to you. That's a good
that's,
question I hadn't thought of.
Anything else from anyone?
Yeah, I'll give you the benefit of a direct response. I think you're going to get a sympathetic ear from this commission whenever you're asking for single-family homes over apartments. My one concern in liking this would be how it lays into the RENA requirements. I'd like, if this thing comes before us, to know where you're going to point that there could be other stuff to make up for that. I am persuaded by the market analysis of the daycare center. I think that there are other places it could be. So I think I would lean towards this. Certain elements. Number one, when this design comes in, diminishing the smaller lots as much as you can is going to be helpful, because if you know anything about this commission, we keep demanding larger and larger lots. I know you're going for an introductory buyer thing, so that it needs to be smaller to keep the price down, but that conflicts. If you're going to go single-family homes, then you got to give these single-family homes that we're looking for in the city of Menifee. Finally, I do believe that if you do this, you're going to find more first-time buyers than older folks scaling down, in which case the tot lot concept is going to be really important. I'll tell you what, even in apartment complexes, when I first got married and we got an apartment and my wife and I had our first child, there was this little tiny play structure with a little bridge, and we spent hours there. And if you've got a little child and a little spot and a little house and a little yard, you need a park. And it doesn't have to be big because the kids are going to be small. The bigger kids can go over to the lakes and use those facilities, especially as close proximity you are to that elementary school that's around the corner over here by the fire station. So if you're going to go this way, you really need to start thinking about, it doesn't have to be elaborate, but just some place to take the kids so there's something to do, because I think you're going to find more young couple who buys their first house, the next thing that happens in their life is a kid. So bottom line is, I would love to see single-family homes. I think it'd be more consistent with the whole lakes development than throwing in a big apartment building there. I am persuaded that you can get it, that the optional, to do away with the optional use of the daycare and fill it with the homes to make it economically feasible. Maybe you take a lot or two out of it if you can and make a little bit more space in there throughout the whole development when it comes back. The other ingress and egress, that's a key for us. And I know it's a small development, so small amenities would be really important, especially since it's enclosed. People are going to feel that it's their own universe because it's enclosed. Their first instinct isn't going to be go a half a mile to the amenities. It's going to be let's stay inside the gate. So that's my bottom line thoughts on it.
I'd agree with what he said. I'm happy to see single family there instead of multifamily. From the perspective of, if I owned the lakes, I would want single family rather than multifamily, because I know you pay high homeowners fees, your house payment there. I personally would want that. My concern is that there's going to be a cost incurred by the city when we have to redo our housing element, and if you're going to basically cause that, I would think you would need to contribute to the city for the cost of reimbursing them for redoing that housing element. So I'll let you work that out with staff, because there will be a staff cost and time in doing that. The other thing is, wherever we go to replace this for RENA numbers, where there's going to have to be a general plan amendment more than likely, and there'll be a cost associated with that, and I think you would need to contribute towards that. And I'm not going to get into the numbers of that or how much. I'll let you and staff work that out. But this is going to be, because we're switching this, our general plan was based on these RENA numbers, then there's going to be a cost in switching. So that would be my suggestion there. I agree with him on the tot lot. It's the exact same experience. We bought our first home, a lot of time in a tot lot, and it saves mom's brain, I'll tell you that. Again, I'd rather see single family there, as long as we can address the RENA problem and the variance in the housing, different type of housing product. We'll have to put it somewhere else. And that's basically it.
I thank you for those comments. I will take to heart what you said about the RENA, because both of you have brought that up, and we'll actually, we actually talked about that earlier, and we will address that. We'll get with the staff on that, discuss that, and get with Brady and make sure that we stand as far as what needs to be done, what level needs to be done,
Yeah.
if anything needs to be done, and how it affects, and then what's there. I don't have that answer for you.
Okay.
We will look at it.
Okay.
One more comment.
Yeah.
I agree with the tot lots. At what point would the park or the tot lot be constructed? For, say, for the first permit, prior to the pulling of the first permit, or?
Well, the first permits are usually your models.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so I would request that we bring that back to you with almost a schedule and a timing, so that I can do it appropriate and not be under duress as far as, making a decision right away without really analyzing. So I want it to be done right. And it'll also be part of our marketing program, so it's a positive thing for us to have in place at the proper time. I don't know what that time is. I'll get with the marketing people and also the development group and make sure we do that.
Well, yeah, most developers want to put it at the nth end, and that's probably not going to work with us. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And one of the things, I'd agree with him on reducing a few lots. That really is the theme of this planning commission, is understand your product, but we are pulling towards a overall, I should say, lifting the average demographic here. So keep that in mind and maybe reducing some lots.
And I will also, would like the commission to entertain our looking at the arena
Mhm.
documents and about the opportunities for optional product that would fit within arena requirements, because they do specify that you want to have the market spectrum available. So you have apartment, condo, townhome, you've got smaller lot, you've got larger.
Well, if you look at our product and all the specific plans that are approved in the city, we have plenty. Where we're really missing is on the high density, and the council and the commission, we're not in love with the high density. We know we have to do it. And so really that's the product we're talking about. Since we're going to lose that here and we're going to lose the daycare, which I was kind of saying that really would have been a good fit next to the shopping center. So we're giving those things up, I think, would validate a few less lots and helping out with arena contribution. So,
And I'm not arguing with that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is let me analyze it and
Yeah.
then come back so that I can give, proper input.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the best thing for us to do. So thank you all for your consideration and your input. We really appreciate that.
and we appreciate you were wise to actually do a workshop. You would be surprised how many projects come before us. They spend hundreds of thousands or $1 million on elevations, on plans, and then they're shocked when we don't just love it. So it was very wise of you, and we appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, you may just want to ask if there's anyone in the
Oh,
public.
yeah, is there any, do we have anyone in the audience that's public speakers at this time in regards to this project specific? Okay. Come to the podium, and you can give your name to Sarah, afterwards, if you could fill out a slip. And it is subject to the 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay.
I talked to the pastor in the city. I'm Marty Calderini, I'm from Elmsdale, Renton, and I work heavily in our city community, and I'm commercial real estate. And I find out, I didn't hear the cost, I can't get the check, but it's probably not the home.
The cost is not being determined, but it's done for a market.
Depends what you have.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and, we have one more comment. Ma'am, can you give your name to the city clerk, please, and sign the form that you spoke?
Kathy?
Wonderful, thank you. And your name, sir?
I was just wanted to know if,
Can you give us your name and,
yes, Gil Billendo. Like,
do you live here in the city? Okay.
I just wanted to know,
That's Gil.
you're going after a specific.
I know, but it's the same guy.
Well, we're not. That's their product.
Their parts, okay, I was just wondering if there's going to be any part of your housing that's going to direct seniors indirectly, because there's not a lot of cost-effective senior housing in this area that I know of. It's either single-family homes or large, you guys are talking about 15,000 square foot lots.
No, not 15,000. Five, yeah.
I've seen them, trust me. I live in a 12,000 square foot lot. But that was the type of development that was being brought in. I'm just wondering if you're looking in that direction as well.
If you look at the general plan, we have a balance of different product types and different land use designations and such. Within those, that is really up to the property owner to decide which product he wants, as long as it fits in with the density and other code restrictions. So you might want to talk to him as far as tailoring the product. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Well, to kind of piggyback on that, we were provided elevations, and the plan one is a single story, which I assume would accommodate
Right.
the.
That's why I was interested in that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. We'll go ahead and close the workshop then, and thank you for coming. Sarah, can we go ahead and call the meeting to order?
Can you hear me? Yep, okay. Commissioner Mark Doty.
Here.
Commissioner Robert Carwin.
Here.
Commissioner Randy Madrid.
Here.
Commissioner Earl Phillips.
Here.
And Chair Chris Thomas.
Here.
5 present.
Okay, we'll go ahead and stand for the flag salute. Hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, have there been any modifications to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
No, there are no modifications.
Okay, we don't have any presentations. Do we have any public comments at this time general?
I do have one request to speak from Angela Little.
Angela Little, okay, Miss Little. Is that mic on? Can you tap it? It's not on. Problem is it won't make the recording if the mic's not on. Can you turn on one of the portable mics?
I did
and
not
take-
hear,
There it- is that
there it
it?
is. Okay, very good. I didn't hear the previous speaker's voice being amplified, so I presumed that the mic wasn't working the whole evening. But anyway, my name's Angela Little, and I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself to you. I'm going to be here 2 weeks from now doing a workshop for my project at the southwest corner of Scott and Leon, and so you'll be reviewing that package, I guess we'll call it the package before you in the next few days. And I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and invite any comments that you have. If you have any questions that you want to address over the phone or email, please feel free to do that. And I look forward to being here in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as they stand currently?
I move that we approve the minutes as they stand currently.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Or Commissioner Madrid seconds. Okay, then do all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, nothing on the consent calendar. That moves us to item 9.1, the public hearing for the conditional use permit 2015-241 for sale of wine and beer, a sign program at the ARCO AMPM gas station. So we'll go ahead. Do we have a staff report on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This evening, this is for the conditional use permit number 2015-241 and the plot plan 2015-237. And the project planner is Christine Bustamante, which I'd also like to introduce to the commission as well. She has been working with us. She will be providing the overview of the items before you this evening. And then once she's completed her presentation between Lisa, myself, and Christina, we'll be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay. Is it Kristen or Christine? Christina. Well, tell us all about it.
Alrighty. Planning Commission and public, my name is Christina. I'm an assistant planner here, and I will be introducing to you today the ARCO AMPM for signs and sale of beer and wine. The project site is located easterly of Trumbull Road and northerly of Highway 74. And it is located within the Scenic Highway Commercial Zone, and it is surrounded by the Scenic Highway Commercial Zone. And south of it is rural residential and manufacturing medium. And then to the very north is also manufacturing. Around this particular parcel, we have vacant land, a jack-in-the-box industrial use. And so some of the background of this particular case, it has, for the signs in particular, has been in review before, but with a slightly different plan, and was probably submitted around 2008. And then when the city was incorporated, it became a planning case that came over in 2009. And so since then has been submitted, commented on, resubmitted, and the plot plan itself for the convenience store and gas station was approved in 2011. So we're not reviewing the schematics of that today, just specifically the signs and the conditional use permit for the beer and wine. And again, the conditional use permit is for off-premises consumption for the sale of beer and wine here at this particular location. And ABC stated that 3 off-sale licenses are allowed within the project census tract. Currently, we have 1 license that has been issued. Therefore, we do not require a finding of public necessity and convenience. This finding is only required when there are more licenses than what is allowed within a particular census tract. This particular map that you'll see before you is trying to give an image and an idea of sensitive uses that are nearby this particular location and whether or not there might be a location that's also selling beer and wine. The closest center that we have, which is not on this map, is Romo Market. It's like a smaller convenience store, but it's about 2,000 feet away from this convenience store that's already been approved. And then Winco Foods, but that's in another city, and it's also about 3,000 feet away. Some sensitive uses that might be of concern are going to be the Paris Valley Big League Dreams and the Drop Zone Water Park, which are to the north, and then the Calvary Chapel Romo Land, which is to the east of the property, about 3,000, almost 4,000 feet away, and then Romo Land Elementary School, which is 4,000 plus feet away from this particular AMPM. The plot plan proposes a sign program that includes wall-mounted signs to the south and to the west sides of the building, including a 25-foot tall pylon sign. And just to pause here, the signs that are on the building themselves are not particularly in question, and that's not what we'd like to focus on. What we would like to focus on is the 25-foot tall pylon sign, and so that's what we'll be reviewing mostly in the following slides. This is the site plan that you'll see before you of the project site. Here you'll notice that the wall signs are on the westerly and southerly sides of this building, as well as reviewing the bands and other designs that are on the canopy. The pole sign will be out on the most corner property there, or the most corner there. And just for reference, the Jack in the Box is to the east of this site. And these are the illustrations of the signs that they have proposed. Staff have worked closely with the applicant to get the sizing correct and to get a nice proportion to be able to get a nice feel, and that matches up with our zoning code and with the character that we would like to see. This is going to be the west elevation and east elevation of the building. Again, we have worked closely with the applicant to be able to communicate about the sizes that we would like to see and what would be most appropriate. And this is going to be the canopy that you see before you, the south and north elevations. And this is the east and west elevations. And this is going to be the 25-foot tall pole sign. This is the one that we'll be talking about a little bit more in depth, that we have some issues on. And some of our issues of concern. This one was part of the application packet that came from a previous design that was also denied. But for illustration's sake, it gives you a good idea on what might be able to be seen from the freeway. This one in particular was 45 feet tall, and you can see from the image, even at that height, it was difficult to see and spot, and traveling, 65 plus miles an hour trying to spot that could be difficult. So being about half that size, it would be even more difficult to see. And then this one here is going to be an illustration trying to give you an idea of what that might look like on the corner. And so this is trying to put in proportion what the Jack in the Box sign would look like in perspective with the Arco sign. The Jack in the Box sign has been approved as of August of last year. So that's kind of the scale that we were hoping to receive, or at least that's where we would encourage the applicant to go towards. The pole sign there we feel is a little large for the site. The site is only 0.74 acres, and the building itself is going to be 3,182 square feet. And this one here is also an illustration to show that it's a bit large for the surroundings that are already there. Again, the approved plan of last year for the Jack in the Box, this is going to be the design that's going to go in, and it's roughly I'm sorry, it doesn't show very well in that picture, but it's a third of the size of this particular sign, so about 8 feet or so. And to give you a good illustration of how that matches up, I put it alongside of the sign so you have an idea of how large it is. And then closer up, there's the image that we've approved for the Jack in the Box that'll be just in the neighboring parcel. And so that'll be next door. These are some examples of preferred designs that we have reviewed in the past, one of which has been approved. This one is the approved sign at Newport and Menifee Road, and you'll see that it is a 7-foot sign, so it's within the same range as the Jack in the Box sign that has been approved. And so we would encourage the applicant to go towards something more of that size in the neighborhood of 8 feet, 7 feet, something like that. And then sign program issues of concern. This is going to go more in detail of all of that. I won't read them to you, but they're there. And then, let's see. So if we could go ahead and go into the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina. Does the commission have any technical questions of staff right now? Not discussion, but technical questions.
Yes, I had one, and it kind of stuck out. Why was there an aversion to using digital sign as opposed to conventional?
Currently,
I understand that there's some kind of an ordinance that says that, but digital signage right now is a version of the future. They're cost effective, they can be operated remotely, and they're a lot easier to maintain than just having somebody walk out there and stick a placard up there on the sign. And I was just wondering, are we really locked into prohibiting digital signage, or is that something that we can put in a workaround for? Because that's going to really flavor not only the site as far as likability, but all the way down the road, that's going to translate into more customers to the site and more revenues for the city. So I was just wondering, why are we standing against digital signage? Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, the answer I have for you on that is that's the code that is there currently. And if we'd like to revise the code, we'll have to go through the appropriate process internally to revise it. But as of right now, that's what we have to go by.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have a question. The staff report indicated that a previous sign proposal had come up for this site that was denied. How is this different than the one that was denied, or is it identical?
I think it was a huge pylon sign.
Correct.
60 feet or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
75 feet or something.
Well, actually, the sign that ended up getting denied, I believe, was only somewhere between 25 and 45 feet.
Didn't they initially want a huge?
Initially, when they submitted to the county in 2006 or 2007, they had a 75-foot tall pole sign. And then working with the city, we asked them to reduce the height, and what ultimately was shown to the Planning Commission and denied by the Planning Commission in, I think it was 2012, was somewhere more between 25 and 45 feet.
So how does that design differ from this one? Sounds the same to me.
It's not much different. It was a tall sign with a wide base and just for the Jack in the Box site, which was also a similar size to the Arco AMPM site.
They were both co-located? Didn't one guy own both lots?
At the time, they were owned by one property owner.
Right.
And then I think prior to the March meeting where the sign program was ultimately denied, the Arco AMPM was purchased by the current applicant of the application that's in front of you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, they weren't going to have the Arco on the Jack in the Box sign. It was just a Jack in the Box sign.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you have a question?
I got some, because in the write-up, it says the maximum height of a sign cannot exceed 45 feet. if the city's gonna kind of take a stance of not even letting 25 feet, we might want to relook at the sign program just to deny anything over 20 feet. I mean, because 45, I see it as, oh, hey, he's only going halfway up. But
And if I may, Commissioner, that you're correct, and that is something that we'll be coming back to you shortly. Actually, we're hoping to bring back at the next meeting with regards to our sign code and our sign regulations, a revision of those regulations. So that is something that we will be addressing. You're absolutely right.
Wasn't there also, though, other wording in the code, either proposed or current, that said that height of a sign is in relation to the size of the lot and proximity to the freeway, I think, wasn't it? Wasn't there something in regards to that? It wasn't just, this is, you can have that sign, it had other requirements tied to it, if I'm not mistaken.
If you're within a certain distance of the freeway right-of-way, you could have a taller sign.
There you go.
Then there's also general plan policies in our current general plan about signage being in relation to the size of the and scope of the project and aesthetic policies.
Okay. Okay.
I also want to piggyback on the digital sign of Earl that I fully agree, especially gas stations, digital is easiest, so maybe we could rename the code to no digital messaging board. I don't know, just a random thought, but gas stations should be allowed to use digital rather than the dude sitting there with the placard and the magnetic pole. So,
As far as, we'll get into discussion of pros and cons of that, but as far as to address your concern, if we wanted to give them the digital allowance, would we have to do a variance to the code, or what would have to happen?
It would probably have to be a variance, but, I don't believe that you could make the findings for a variance based on this particular application. And there hasn't been an application for a variance either, so.
It's
Well,
some-
that's something,
It's something we're looking at incorporating into our new sign ordinance, that gas stations would be allowed digital signage. So it might be that their exhibit now, similar to
Would
the,
reflect future possible fine?
or they show now what basically the Newport Menifee Road ARCO got approved, and we could condition that if the ordinance changes to allow digital signage, that they could do that without coming back through the process and just through the permitting process.
How long until that signage review comes to us as a council commission?
Well, we're looking right now for the next council, this next planning commission meeting
Oh,
we've
okay,
advertised.
so it's right
oh,
on.
so
Yeah,
it's right around the corner.
yeah. So
Okay.
we've gone through a review, real quickly, we've gone through a review at the staff level, working with the city attorney's office, and there's some things under the state law and laws and regulations and requirements that we basically have to be in compliance with. And again, this is part of updating our whole code, rather than working from what the county code, what we're currently under.
Okay.
And I had one last, I guess it's just a query. When I looked at that, the rendering of the building, it said that you had a flame broiler and a yogurt establishment. Now, I didn't see any conditions of approval for putting in these two facilities. And I was just wondering, from an Department of Environmental Health perspective, why that wasn't included in the COA, that these establishments adhere to the health policies.
That was previously reviewed and approved under a separate plot plan. That
Okay.
was approved, I believe, about a month ago. You would have seen the administrative approval on that. And the applicant has complied with all of the Riverside County environmental health requirements and has building plans submitted, if not approved. I think the permit's been issued, correct? Yes. The building permit's been issued for the flame broiler and the building in general, including the frozen yogurt.
Okay, I just didn't see it in the paperwork here, so.
Yeah,
Right.
you won't see any conditions regarding that because this is just for the signage.
The signage.
And for
Okay.
the CUP for beer and wine sales.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? No? Then we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:24. Was this properly noticed, Ms. Clerk?
Yes, it was legally noticed.
And have we received, we did, I think we No, the correspondence has to do with the other items, right? So we didn't receive any additional correspondence.
Correct. There were no
Okay.
additional correspondence.
Would the applicant like to speak? You don't have to.
No, you.
No, you.
No, you.
And if you could give us your name, sir,
I sure
and where
will.
you live.
My name's Ron Havis. I live in Fallbrook. I've been involved with this project since the beginning, and I can give you a bit of history.
Are you the project manager, the owner,
No,
the
I'm the broker,
broker?
and what I'm here for is to ask your approval of plot plan number 2015-237. The staff in their report is suggesting that you deny it. The reason I'm asking for your approval is I think you need to understand that signage for this particular area in Menifee is critical to reach the freeway. And the whole reason why Jack in the Box came to this area was inspired by a Jack in the Box on Cahelco off the 215 in the northerly part, just north of Paris. Now, I was a consultant for Jack in the Box for about 3 years, and I was privy to sales volumes and things like that. And when that Jack in the Box opened up, it opened up with a 75-foot high sign approved by variance with the city of Riverside, and it opened up extremely successful. Also, the Circle K that was part of the project, very successful. It got a lot of attention. And I was asked by a Jack in the Box franchisee, go find me one like that. I did. I came down to 74 in Trimble. At the time, it was a county area. We talked with the county, as Lisa is aware. We were dealing with the county for a 75-foot pole sign with a variance to make sure it would do the job. We actually physically bought a crane down there and a 12 by 12 piece of plywood, hoisted it up, and drove the freeway multiple times to see. And it's readable. I mean, it would be readable and seeable because a lot of people react, they don't have to read it. All they have to do is see logos. And boom, they understand you can get there. Now, the reason why the freeway is so critical for success is the traffic. And in both Cahelco and in 74, the freeway traffic's almost identical, 82,000 vehicles a day. Now, this data a little aged because this is like 2005, 10 years ago. It's probably bigger
We
than that.
double it by now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about double, but a lot more. And if you
Look
look,
like it. I
if you
drive it
take
every
away
morning.
the freeway and only look at traffic on Highway 74, that's around 22,000 or so. But the killer there is the population. The population is under 3,000 people in 1 mile, and the population in 2 miles is about 6,000. Now, whether it's a gas station or a fast food, neither would go in there if they couldn't pull from the freeway. So the freeway is part of the trade area for success. Now, why would this be important? If you want small signage, who cares about success? Well, Highway 74, as it leaves 215 and runs to Briggs, the entire length of that, I don't know of any new development that's gone in there since the city's been incorporated. None. Zero. Now, if the Jack in the Box is successful and the Arco is successful because they're able to pull traffic from the freeway to their site, that will spur on other people to come in and compete. That's what brought Jack in the Box to the site in the first place, was the Cahelco Jack in the Box. So what I'm asking you to do is to say to staff, yes, in certain areas like in Newport and Menifee, on that Arco, small sign makes sense. You're just trying to get local traffic to come in. That doesn't apply to this site. This site, you need to pull them off the freeway. So I would also suggest that not only that you approve the 25-foot sign, but you ask the applicant and the planner to revisit the 45-foot sign. Now, The 40-foot sign is allowed by code. It is. It'll be better than the 25-foot sign to bring traffic off the freeway. These are more economic reasons, and that's about all I have to say. If you're after any history about it, the Jack in the Box people, by the way, they felt they got so beat up in their processing here, they gave up and said, okay, we'll do the monument sign. If you were to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, what would you think about being on a 45-foot sign or being on a 20-foot sign? They'd say, yeah, we'll take down that monument and put one up. It'll bring in more business. And that's really all I have to say.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to add, Frank?
Well, no, come up, if you could give your name, where you live, and appreciate it.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Frank Haddaden.
Frank, what?
Frank Haddaden.
And you are engineer, owner?
The owner.
The owner, okay.
What I'm talking about, I also recommend changing the sign to digital. Why digital? It's not only this type of business required it, also for safety. Every time we go change, the chances falling down on our head is high. And it happened, and we have workers' comp cases because of that too.
Okay.
That's what I want to suggest.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other, okay, so that's the applicant. Do we have any public testimony in regards to this item?
No, there are no more requests to speak.
Then if we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:31 and bring it to the dais. Let's go ahead and start with Randy. What are your thoughts and contributions to this?
If they were allowed the 25-foot sign, would the gas prices be on that sign?
Why don't you come up to the dais, because the recording won't get your voice.
Do whatever it takes to keep the 25 feet.
Because you
Yeah.
basically just want your sign to be seen, and that would eliminate the digital.
Fine.
Now, I
We'll agree to anything as long as we can have the 25 feet, whatever it takes.
okay, did I understand that, Ron, to say that Jack in the Box had 25-foot sign to start with, or they never did?
We were going together to
They
do
gave up.
75, then
You go ahead and ask
45.
those staff questions. We're not really supposed to have a back and forth, but if you can ask it of staff. Just, we can ask various questions, but yeah. So the Jack in the Box does not have the sign. They complied with the code of the lower signs.
8 feet.
And then would you share this sign with Jack in the Box?
I don't mind, I would love to. Why not?
Okay. I don't know.
Of course.
Also, it's for discussion, so if you want to, this time is for us to discuss. If you
Okay.
love it, hate it, whatever, this is a time that we can talk and banter back and forth over that.
My feeling on a sign is maybe if you're affecting sight distance, or if it's a safety hazard, and if it's, this can be a perpetual sign, always going to be there, or could it be taken down after?
Now, once they go, you got to look at it from a permanent perspective.
That's just my thinking.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Doty?
The alcohol and sales portion, I have no issue with that. I did notice I stopped at the Scott Road AM/PM, and they've got the smaller one, and they're right next to the freeway too. I understand the eyesore part of it, and I think even with the way the road's bent, I don't even know what the 45-foot sign between the lumber yard and the concrete mix company, I don't know if you'd even see it going northbound 215. So I think most of the traffic they would see is southbound, unless I'm completely wrong, but I know the lumber yard's got a big old green hawk and big building, and the concrete guy's got, I don't know, 50 or 60-foot tall mixer up top, so. Yeah, so, I don't know,
We would love
not the
the
biggest
45.
fan of a tall sign. That's all I got.
I drove that area, much the same as the other gentleman did. That sign to me could not be seen if I'm looking at the traffic heading north, because as you know, that lane that comes off of 74 onto 215 has always been vulnerable to accidents, even with the other lane put in. I could not even see that area because of the mountains that Commissioner Doty was talking about, of granite and all that kind of stuff, and the trees that are there. Coming south, I didn't even see it. I think that in response to the broker's concern, that freeway signage that says the next exit would have, and they put up the logos, that is a lot safer and more cost-effective than you putting up a 45-foot sign that nobody's going to pay any attention to. I firmly believe that even a 25-foot sign is just too big for that lot. I like the illustrations that I have seen on the signs that staff recommended. And I think that given the traffic throughput on 74, you're going to get a lot of business because there's just nothing over there, at least for a mile or so until you get to the Arco that's on Menifee Road there. I would strongly recommend you take a look at what staff has recommended and go with that, because I think you're going to end up wasting money by putting a big sign up there, especially at that junction in the road, because nobody's going to see it, nobody's going to pay attention to it. People who drive that, and I drive it frequently, are more concerned about getting smacked by those big trucks that are coming on that freeway that don't care who you are. So I would strongly recommend that you take a look at a smaller sign. You know you're going to get the business, rather than something that nobody's going to pay attention to, and it's going to end up costing you money as far as maintenance and whatever. The other thing is to revisit the signage that you see just about everywhere that has the different logos. At the next turnoff, you have this, 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 and this. You've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Commissioner Kerwin? There was another comment over here? No?
I would assume that they're going to try to do both. I mean, you're going to want as many signs as you possibly can. You're going to put one of those blue signs that say next exit, Jack in the Box, AMPM, whatever. For me, the industrial nature of that area, this is very different than that Scott Road AMPM, which is surrounded by houses and small industry and things like that. This is really in the middle of an industrial park. You've got Drop Zone up the street and the Field of Dreams, but there's no houses there. There's never going to be houses there. From my standpoint, if they want to spend the money on that sign and they're willing to maintain it pursuant to the codes, I don't see how that really affects the aesthetics of the city. Yeah, it's too big for the lot from an aesthetic standpoint. I agree with that. But if they want to do that to their lot and it's within code from that part of the city, if it was in another part of another economic development corridor, I'd have a problem with it because it's ridiculous. But there behind it's behind a gravel yard. We're worried about aesthetics of an AMPM behind a giant pile of gravel that's on the freeway. I mean, it is really a huge pile of broken rocks, and you're worried that there's a 25-foot sign that says AMPM right behind it. That seems to be a little inconsistent. So it's their project, it's their property. I agree it'd be a huge waste of money, but if you want to do it for that industrialized section, corner of the city where there's never going to be vistas and domestic sightlines, I'd say I'd let them do it. I'd approve it.
I would tend to agree with Commissioner Kerwin, and if anyone in staff knows me, I have been the sign cop and aesthetics cop for this city. But the fact is, that's in a hole. And remember we went through this, they wanted the 75-foot sign or whatever years ago, and frankly, it doesn't work. To me, if it isn't, go big or don't go at all. It's really because you are wasting your time and your money.
We'll go for 45.
What?
45, we'll do 45.
Actually, what was it? We're looking at 25 here?
25, yes.
I have, frankly, I know I'm going to shock staff, no problem with the 45, because It is an industrial zone, like you said. It's behind a gravel pit. It's not going to change for a long time. And frankly, if you don't have a sign, you're not doing business. That's just the reality of it. Now, I fought the Menifee Marketplace over here because they wanted to put stilt signs up all along the buildings. And that's a little different aesthetic. And I said, no way. There's a time and place for everything. So it's in a hole there. It is in a commercial industrial area. It's not Beverly Hills over there. So if they can get them more business and they want to spend the money, I'm okay with actually a larger sign even than what they're asking.
Does this approval or denial end with us, or does this go to city council?
It would be final here.
Okay.
I say let them go. You know what? I would say let them go for the 45, but it has to be a joint sign with Jack in the Box, and let
More than happy
them
to
go
do that.
digital. Don't want anyone falling off, breaking their neck. So, but what do you guys think? I mean, you may just want to smack me. I don't know.
Where's the sign gonna be placed? Because the sample one was
corner.
right in the corner, right on the curb return.
Right.
Is that really where they want to put it, or is that just a graphical thought?
That's where I've seen it placed in the site plan.
That's the property point closest to the freeway.
Can we bring that back up again?
Oh, yes, let me bring that back up for you.
What about even the thought of when you drive on the 10 to Palm Springs, is it Banning or Beaumont, or both of them have like a large community commercial sign? Now it's kind of ugly. It's kind of like a big thumb. But being that this sign's kind of in a hole, it won't be quite as ugly. What about a joint sign that you offer space for the drop zone and for, what else we got out there?
Big League Dream.
Big League Dreams and such, because then it would rationalize us giving them a variance.
75 feet, we'll do it.
200, let's go. Let's go big.
Have you considered a blimp?
Yeah, a blimp.
Flying
Yeah.
a blimp over the AM/PM all the time.
Okay, Bob.
I was just going to say, just to clarify, those uses you mentioned, Big League Dream, those are outside the city.
Oh, that's true. But they could still advertise on it, couldn't they? Or we just don't even want to go there?
No, not under our.
I think you're
but they're
overcomplicating what we're
considered
here
offset.
for
Okay.
today.
Okay. I'm just thinking outside the box of what would benefit everything along there. Or even leave additional space open for a future commercial that goes in there. Because if
More than
the
happy.
Arco and the Jack in Box do take off, it will drive other businesses. What they are, I don't know. But they will want signage, and they'll have the same issue as we have right here. So I think maybe we could condition them to allow the 45 or whatever everyone else is comfortable with, but with additional space for other tenants.
We would need
Couple
to
of- couple of
see a
things.
larger sign because it might not fit in that location. There is a water quality basin that's all along the front of that property.
Yeah.
And right now, fitting that 25-foot tall sign is a challenge.
Could
Well,
you
you're
put
talking
it
about
in
a wider
another
footprint.
location
Already-
of the parcel, in the back of the
Already
parcel
fitted,
or
the
anything like
25,
that?
it's fitted, and
We would have to see plans.
Yeah, first of all, you wouldn't be able to prove, there's no application in front of us this evening
Right.
for a sign taller than, other than what's before you here
So at this
now,
point,
number one.
we have to approve or deny what we have here, or,
Or continue it, you can continue it, if that's the desire, or if there's a consent, then they would actually have to come back with a new sign application. We'd have to go through the whole process. As Lisa was saying, we'd have to review the whole,
yeah.
because it'd be a different proposal for a
That's
different
fine
sign.
I mean, if the applicant's willing to pay you want to deposit, I don't know, pay for the time and consider they want to do it, it's up to
Well, this
them.
is the one they're asking for, so we might as well vote on this one.
Well, you can ask
We
them if
still
you
have to
want to
bring this
continue
back,
it and
though.
change it too.
And just to clarify, if it looks like there is a consensus to move forward, we'd still ask you to continue it. We'd have to bring it back with the resolution to approve.
Yeah, and
We
I'm
don't have
looking at
that-
this
we
as
don't
a
have that with us.
very special circumstance. This is not precedent. Basically, this is kind of a unique spot. We don't have any other freeway frontage in our city that's in a hole, that's in this industrial kind of an area. Everything else is pretty much prime real estate. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. So what do you guys think? Do you want to, are you leaning towards as is? Are you leaning towards changing it, continuing it? What do you want to do? Randy?
Go for the 45 feet.
45, which means we'd have to continue. Okay, because this is, if we,
They'd have to be a new application.
a new application.
It'd have to be a new application
Which
for a
means we would
45-foot sign.
continue this and they'd bring a new
They
application.
would, no, they would just bring a new application.
So we deny
Yeah.
it and they'd come back with a new application.
Yeah, well, you could do that, yeah.
Or what?
Or
what
we could
else would
approve it, and they could decide later on to come back.
Right.
Oh, okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
However, we don't have an approval
So we'd have to bring
resolution,
it
so we
back.
would still have to bring that component
Back.
back For the alcohol portion, that could be approved tonight if you
Okay.
So just question for staff, what we've got here, the way this resolution is worded, a yes vote denies the sign, a no vote achieves no affirmative action for them. They
No,
can't
no,
do anything if we vote no on it, but if we vote yes on this resolution, they can't build the sign.
No, they can. They can. They're just recommending denial, but it's a,
It says the resolution denying plot plan.
Well, here's what I'll say, because it sounds like for the alcohol, it sounds like there's consensus that the commission wants to approve that. So we can move ahead with that resolution. We could have a motion, a second, we could vote on that. As it pertains to the signage, that should be continued with direction to either come back with an approval resolution or for the applicant to submit a new application with a 45-foot sign.
Withdraw and then submit a new.
It's up to you as the commission what you want to do with that. But I think those are two options that you have.
Is this pole sign that's in here part of the resolution we're voting on tonight, or is that the next item? There's a 45-foot pole sign on page 4 of 15 of the plot plan 2009-47.
Isn't that the prior? That was the previous.
That's the-
That was the
yeah.
previous staff
Yes, the
report.
inevitable.
That's the
was
one that
what
was denied.
Previously,
Yeah, you wouldn't be acting it.
Yeah, that's an ugly sign.
nothing ugly.
That's why they ask us to design what we design, so we spend the money on designing and making sure it fits the 25. So I would really appreciate voting for the 25 and giving me the option to go back and do the 45.
But we can't do that tonight, right? Because we don't have a resolution that allows us to do that.
Correct. You would continue it, and staff would come back with an approval resolution for the 25-foot sign at potentially the next meeting or the meeting after, and then the applicant can decide if he also wants to go for the grand slam and bring in the 45-foot application.
No pun intended down the street, right? Okay. Okay, so everyone's okay with the alcohol? Yes?
Yeah, that's fine. Because it was previously approved, it just expired.
Are we all okay then with continuing it with direction to staff to bring back an approval resolution?
Do we need to make a motion to continue it?
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
I'm
but
just
you
getting
could
the
approve-
verbal before we do
Yeah.
the formal.
You could approve the CUP resolution right now.
So let's go ahead and do that then. Let's do the alcohol first. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt PC 16244?
243.
243. I have 241. I might be on the wrong page.
What is
No,
the
243. right there.
Oh, down here, okay. I would like to move that we adopt resolution number PC 16-243, approving the conditional use permit for the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call or roll vote?
Commissioner Mark Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Robert Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Randy Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Earl Phillips,
Yes.
and Chair Chris Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to continue resolution PC 16-244?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I propose a motion to continue the vote on resolution number PC 16-244, denying plot plan number 2015-237, with a recommendation for staff to come back with a revised resolution for approval.
There we go.
And just to clarify, we're continuing the item, not the resolution.
Yeah,
Correct.
continuing the item. Okay.
The vote on it.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we take a roll call?
Commissioner Mark Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Robert Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Randy Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Earl Phillips,
Yes.
and Chair Chris Thomas.
Yes.
That motion passes.
So,
Yeah, so what does that mean?
what that means is the staff has to come back, because this is a denial resolution, they need to come back with an approval resolution. And we will be approving the 25-foot sign, and then the applicant can decide whether he wants to come back with another application for a bigger sign or digital or whatever it is.
Right, just to clarify, you've continued the action on the plot plan for the sign. You haven't taken any you've discussed it, you've provided that, then when we bring that back based on what the applicant, so that's
Okay.
the action you've taken this evening. It's
Okay.
just to continue that item
Continue it,
Mhm.
okay.
to the, are we, and I'm.
The date certain?
Are we doing date certain or just
Do we-
next available based on
Do we
staff
wanna-
time?
You want to just continue it until,
We didn't set a date certain.
no, we didn't, but that's,
Well, if he may revise it, do you really want to pin yourself down on a date certain, or do you have staff time to address it properly?
Well, the next meeting is January
we don't have
27th, which is 2 weeks away, and there's Martin Luther King Day on Monday, so we're really limited in time to prepare. The next available Planning Commission meeting is February 10th, and that would be reasonable for staff to prepare the resolution and conditions of approval to present to Planning Commission for their decision.
so, yeah, if we can go to the first meeting then in February, if that's, and I just wanted to make sure with staff, then I would suggest that we amend the motion to make it to a date certain, then that way we wouldn't have to re-advertise for it as well.
So do we have a motion to amend the continuance to the date certain of February 10th?
Made the first one, I'll make the amendment. Move to amend the motion to continue the item of vote on resolution number PC 16-246 with the provision that staff revise to word it as a vote of approval, and we'll continue it to a date certain, which will be February 10, 2016.
You have a second? Can we do
Second.
roll call?
I'm sorry, who's the second?
We have a second. Commissioner Phillips?
Commissioner Mark Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Robert Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Randy Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Earl Phillips,
Yes.
and Chair Chris Thomas.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. So,
See you February 10th.
talk to
Thank you,
staff.
guys.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the next item. So I don't have my little dividers in here, so hold on just a minute.
Quail Valley Ranch.
Yeah. Let me find my spot in here. Where is it here? Oh, I got it. I'm just digging through here. Let's go ahead. It's going to be item number 9.2, Quail Valley Ranch. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, the items before you this evening is a plot plan, number 2015-130, and conditional use permit, number 2015-257. And again, Lisa Gordon, the planning manager, will review the case with you, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the Quail Valley Market. The project site is located to the west of Palm Drive and the Quail Valley Fire Station, to the north of Newport Drive in the community of Quail Valley. The project site currently contains an existing commercial building. To the north are residential uses. To the south is vacant property and the former Check Cashing Plus, which has since closed. To the east is the Quail Valley Fire Station, and to the west are residential uses. The zoning of the site is general commercial. It's surrounded by general commercial to the north, south, east, and west. The general plan land use is also commercial retail, and there's commercial retail to the north, south, east, and west, in addition to 2.1 to 5 residential further south and public facilities where the fire station is located. Plot plan number 2015-130 proposes to convert an existing 1,655 square foot commercial building into a market for the sale of produce and dry goods. The site contains an existing patio and storage building. The project also includes adding a new 20 by 20 patio cover and deck to the front of the store and exterior upgrades to the building. The applicant anticipates that there will be between 2 and 3 employees working daily from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The applicant will also be allowed to host a farmer's market one Saturday of every month between the hours of 8 and noon. The event will include booths for produce, packaged foods, arts and crafts, and prepared food vendors that will be located in the existing parking lot. Parking for the farmer's market would be provided in the vacant lot to the south. This project also includes signage, a monument sign in the southeast corner of the site, stucco face with stone columns and caps. The lettering is proposed to be engraved into the stucco face of the sign. The sign is 12 feet in width and with a 7-foot wide face and 5 feet in height. There's also signage on the front of the building that will also be included. The conditional use permit proposes the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption in conjunction with the proposed market. The project site is located within Census Tract 427.17. Within the Census Tract 2 licenses are allowed, and neither of these 2 licenses have been issued. Therefore, the proposed project will not require findings of public necessity and convenience. This application was reviewed for consistency with the city's ordinance 2009-050, which added additional rules for the citing of uses selling alcohol, and the project is consistent with the additional citing rules, including the distance to a church. Quail Valley Bible Church is located to the northwest of the church, about a little over 500 feet, which meets the requirement. This is the site plan for the market. The applicant is proposing to add new landscape planters along the front of the property here, and also a planter here, which will help delineate the parking lot from the road. These are the proposed exterior upgrades. The plan is to add new wainscoting on the bottom of the building. It'll be a corrugated steel metal panel and tongue and groove wood planks on the top that'll cover the existing roof line. And you can see the signage that's going to be approved on the front of the store, the Quail Valley Market. They're also adding new overhead glass sectional roll-up doors to the front of the building, removing a door. This is the floor plan.
Can we go back to that? They have roll-up doors that, how are you going to get in the building if you're removing that door? Are they the
Through the
roll-up doors go up?
The roll-up doors.
Okay.
The patio here, one of the roll-up doors is right at the back of that new patio, and there'll be a ramp up. You can see on this where they're proposing the produce, dry goods, prepackaged foods, the cashier, and the beer and wine. Some background on this project. The site does contain existing buildings, and most of the property is paved except for portions of the rear of the site. In the past, the building had been used for a pool supply business, mail order business, and a bar. More recently, a different business owner opened a medical marijuana dispensary at this location without permits or land use entitlements, but our city's code enforcement worked to close the business as dispensaries are not allowed here. The existing building is considered legal non-conforming. The existing building and paving was established with proper entitlements and permits, but has become non-conforming with current ordinances such as our landscaping requirements since the use was established. The applicant will add improvements to the site such as perimeter landscaping, new paving in the parking lot, striped parking spaces, ADA updates, better defined driveways that make this site better and safer for the community. The plot plan was required due to the change in use and to address landscaping and parking review. The plot plan would have been approved administratively, however, because the applicant is also proposing a conditional use permit for the sale of beer and wine for off-premise consumption, it requires Planning Commission approval. So both applications are before the Planning Commission for their consideration tonight. The city has adopted a new landscape ordinance. Per the ordinance, applicability of the new standards to projects includes where an existing non-residential mixed use and or multifamily residential project applies for an entitlement that increases the building square footage of by 10% or more, the designated approving authority shall evaluate the existing landscape to ensure compliance with applicable requirements of this chapter as deemed necessary and appropriate. So our new landscape ordinance applies to the site because they are increasing the square footage by more than 10%, but they apply as deemed necessary and appropriate. The project does not meet every requirement of our new landscape code, such as the requirement to put trees adjacent to the building. Our code requires one tree every 30 feet adjacent to the building. And then perimeter landscaping and trees separating the site from residential uses to the north. There is a requirement for perimeter landscaping, but this project isn't providing it, but there are existing trees and shrubs in the residential lots that provide some screening. This project also doesn't comply with the requirement to landscape 10% of the parking lot, but it's just below. 650 square feet are required, but they're providing 623 square feet. The landscaping proposed has been deemed appropriate for the proposed site by staff. Dense trees are located in the residential lots to the north of the site to provide a buffer. New landscaping around the perimeter of the parking lot really helps to enhance the site, separate the roads from the parking lot, and will provide trees for shading parking spaces, which doesn't exist now. Requiring additional landscaping would be infeasible as it would result in a loss of parking, drive aisles that are not wide enough per our code, or removal of portions of the existing building. We've fit in as much landscaping as we can. This project is approved for the sale of prepackaged foods only, and this is due to the capacity of the existing septic system. The project site is located in the community of Quail Valley, where there is a prohibition on the installation of any new or expansion of existing septic systems. So the applicant is not able to upgrade the existing septic system, and connecting the sewer is not economically feasible due to the long distance to the nearest existing sewer line. So at this time, staff recommends that we conduct the public hearing and adopt the resolution approving the plot plan and adopt the resolution approving the conditional use permit. This concludes staff presentation.
Okay, does the commission have any technical questions of staff at this time?
Yes. So there's two resolutions here, there's 245 and 246. If there wasn't 246, 245 would have been approved by staff?
Yes.
So basically all we're voting on is beer and wine, unless we have problems with the design now that it's before us. I understand. Thank you.
You would have had an opportunity to review it as part of the administrative approval process.
Okay. What's that? Should we all look at those in depth? Every single one of those 1,000 that you send out.
You send out, yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the commission?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
No, you
Okay. I had a problem with the septic system and the parking lot to the south. Are they going to be, the parking lot immediately in front of the building there is in really, really bad shape. Now, will that be addressed when they,
Yes, they're going to redo the parking lot, and so
Okay.
they'll be doing, I think it's slurry seal,
okay.
and then adding the planters, so it'll
Okay.
be improved.
And the vacant land to the south where it's going to be parking?
That'll only be for the farmer's market, so that's fairly consistent with other types of events we have, where it's a temporary event, will allow parking on a vacant lot like
Will that be paved?
No.
Okay, then we're going to be, excuse me, we're going to end up with a water problem because the drainage from that site, once it gets repaved, is going to impact the vacant lot. And I'm wondering,
Our engineering department did look at the drainage, and the way the parking lot will be redone, they've made sure that as much of the drainage is heading in towards the new landscape planters. So drainage and water quality should be increased from what's there now, because I'll show you a picture. Right now, all of it's paved, even the road, and there's no real separation between the parking lot and Newport and Palm Drive, except for this low monument wall on the bus shelter.
right.
So,
My concern was the drainage to the southeast on the vacant lot. There's a drainage dish there and what appears to be some residential houses. And I was wondering, once we hardscape this area, if we get a significant surface runoff, it's going to impact this area. And I was wondering whether that's going to be re-engineered.
well, it's already paved now, so we won't be increasing the rates of flow or increasing the runoff. We should actually be decreasing them, because this project will redo the parking lot, and then they'll be putting in landscape planters that don't exist now. And the way they're redoing the parking lot is drainage will be focused into these new planters. So right now, it's just sheet flowing off the site. And in the future, once all the improvements are made, it will be going into the planters. The southeast portion of the site, there's still a lot that's not paved, and there's no plans to pave it. So the runoff situation in those areas shouldn't change. In the in the westernmost corner of their property.
Okay, my last concern was about the septic system. That septic system, I guess, is better than 20 years old. And I was wondering whether or not there's going to be provisions in Section 5 of the COA for a comprehensive inspection of that septic system to see.
That's happened.
Oh, that's happened?
That has happened. Environmental health looked really, really closely at this.
Yeah.
Really closely because of the prohibition on the installation of new or expansion of existing septic systems. Our applicant has worked really, really closely with Riverside County Environmental Health, and they did more review than usual at this stage because they didn't want him to get his approval and then come to permitting and not be able to get a permit. So they made sure they checked what fixtures he was adding to see how much it would add to the plumbing. They had him, the applicant, do I think at least 2 checks of the septic system capacity and function, and they looked into it. Yeah.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
The, over on this picture, on the plans, it just says the existing bus shelter and wall. Is that wall protected in place?
Yes.
Good. I like it. It has a nice character. My real question was the, behind the market, there's existing paved area and concrete slab. Is that going to be used for anything?
Looks like it's got parking in it.
Yeah, it's on the other side, an existing wood
You
fence.
had it, you went by it.
So here,
Yeah.
not under this application.
Are they gonna be, I don't want to see storage and stuff hanging out back there, kind of a dirty area. So I just want to make sure that, it looks like it's all fenced off and separated. So I don't know if it's
Do I have
owned
a
by the same
picture of
guy.
it? Can you go
Yeah.
back to the actual picture?
Is it the same property?
You go.
Yes, it's same property owner. I believe we actually conditioned that there could be no outdoor storage in that portion of the property, and that storage was limited to the patio, and then there's a storage building in the front. So, let me check.
As long as it just doesn't become an eyesore.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 8:07. Was this properly noticed, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it was legally noticed.
And do we receive any correspondence in regards to this?
No, we have not.
And do we have the applicant? Would you like to speak? If you can introduce your name, where you live, and tell us about it.
Sure. My name is Jesse Hernandez. I live in Corona, but I do own other property in the city of Menifee. With regards to the vacant paved area behind the store, there were 2 storage sheds back there from the previous owner, not the clinic, but when it was a warehouse. And those sheds were taken, and we actually donated them to the fire department across the street because they asked for them for their Toys for Christmas event. They needed to be storing stuff all year round, so we didn't want them anyway. We thought they were an eyesore already, so we donated them to them. And I believe Captain Larry over there, he can, if you guys want any testimony on that, he can vouch for us on that.
Would you like to tell us anything about the project?
Yeah, what we're trying to go for is kind of a like Tom's Farms kind of thing. So that's what the roll-up doors are. They over there currently have their doors rolled up. They have fruit, vegetable, and prepackaged items there, and we're just trying to go for that in the community, just to better the community, as well as, the lot itself. Actually, because there is no borders around the property right now, people are really kind of driving all over the private property right now. Those roads are pretty narrow. They're about 10 feet wide. So we will be donating, it was recommended that we donate 5 feet of frontage for pedestrian traffic. But when we started to outline the planners, and if you guys have a chance to go out there, you'll see that my paving guy already started marking the road. You'll see actually that we probably have to give them more like 10 feet because the road becomes really narrow, because a part of the dirt lots to the south that Mr. Phillips was mentioning are not bordered or paved properly.
Okay. So are you, usually on a corner lot like that, it throttles out a little for the turn? Is that all on there, or is it going to be square lot on Getz and Newport there?
There won't be any type of dedicated turn lanes or an increased width of the roads at
Or
the
anything like that,
intersection.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Like to,
Not unless anybody has a question for me.
Yes, I had one question. I was looking at plans that said El Ranchito,
Yeah.
and then I
changed
saw
the
something
name.
else to Quail Valley.
Yeah, I changed the name. My son said that the name wasn't fitting, and I kind of agreed with him, and so,
Okay, I noticed there was two different,
yeah.
and I was just
That's the
wondering if I could
previous-
get some clarity
probably
on
the
that.
previous drawing, yeah. It's going to be
Okay.
Quail Valley Market to kind of go with the community, and since then, we've learned a little bit more about the history of the community, and so we just wanted to stick with what the community would influence the community to come and visit us.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Is there any public testimony requests on this?
Yes, Janet Anderson.
Okay, Janet, if you could come up.
Good evening. Sorry for the voice. Good evening, Commission. My name is Janet Anderson. I live in the community of Quail Valley in the city of Menifee. I am the president of the community group, and I'm also involved in QVAC, Quail Valley Environmental Coalition, and very involved in bringing the sewers to Quail Valley and working with Eastern and our city councilman. I'm here today because I want to show my support for Jesse and the market. Currently, we have a lot of residents who do not have vehicles, and the closest market is over 4 miles. They don't have vehicles, and there is no bus, there's no access to buses on the weekends, in or out of Quail Valley. You don't have a car, you don't have money for dial-a-ride. So this is a huge asset to Quail Valley. Also, I wanted to bring up, and I didn't hear you talk about it, but they have been in talks with Steve Glenn, right? Steve Glenn, about moving our post office boxes. Currently, our P.O. boxes are in a vacant lot that right now is underwater. Whenever it rains, there's standing water. You can't get in. From the road to go in, there's about a drop. Your car bottoms out coming in and out. And Jesse is working with them to have the P.O. boxes moved over to that area. Let's see, what else do I want to say? This is a great asset. He's really working with the community, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am to have this in the community.
Thank you. And next speaker?
Next is Debbie Stout.
Hi, my name is Debbie Stout. I've been living in Quail Valley since 1980. I am currently the president of the Quail Valley Volunteer Fire Department. We need this market. Since I have lived here in 1980, I have been through massive floods where we have been completely landlocked. Luckily, I own property in Canyon Lake, so I was able to cut through the lake. We had boats sometimes that would access you across the street to get to a main road. So if we have any major flooding, the people that live in Quail Valley, they can't get out. Most of the people there are low income. They're usually the husbands are working, the wives are walking. We need this desperately. He has been a lifesaver. He has worked with the community. We all support him, and we are really hoping that you guys are going to approve this tonight because we don't have anything in Quail Valley except the Circle K. So basically, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys take that into consideration. He will be an asset, as well as moving the post office boxes. They'll be a lot safer than having them broken into. You don't have to walk down in the mud to try and get to them. So basically, that's it. Simple. We need it, and I certainly hope you guys approve it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other speakers?
Next is Gil Galindo.
Gil what?
Galindo?
My name is Gil Galindo. I live in Cannon Heights, next door to Quail Valley. We're part of Quail Valley. We in the newer section. I live right next door to the Quail Valley Elementary School. So I see a lot of the people that these folks are talking about. I talk to them on a daily basis. As well as being a board member, I also, because I live so close to school, socialize with them, interact with them quite a bit. And there is a need for a market such as this, not just a market, but he's willing to bring in the farmers market as well, which would be a new addition to our area, which would, I can tell you right now, would be a great way to socialize and for everybody to get to know each other. Because there still is a fine line between my own community and next door, believe it or not. And it's that way because where I live, for a long time, I didn't know there was a Circle K, believe it or not. I never turned left on that road. I always came to Menifee and did all my purchasing here. But above having this market just to be able to interact with the community and be part of the community, I think it's important to understand that Circle K is a corporate market, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he's going to bring something to the community that Circle K could never offer us, and that's more variety, better choices, different types of products than Circle K. Circle K gets, a truck comes in and they deliver whatever they get. They get milk from Foremost, they get whatever it is that they get. He's going to be bringing in products that we've probably not accessible to a lot of the people on that side. The farmer's market alone, I think, is an enticement to allow him to come in and participate with us, and would be greatly appreciated, I can tell you that, from all sides of Quail Valley. We're on the west side, we don't have much. We have a park that's closed, and that's about it, except for the new park you guys just opened, that nice little triangle. So give us something.
Okay.
Thank
you. Anyone else?
There are no more speakers.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 8:16 and bring it to the dais. Any comments from each of the, and what are your thoughts on approving or denying? Commissioner Kerwin.
Seems like kind of a no-brainer to me. I live on that end of town. I live right up against La Ladera Park, and he's right, there's nothing over there. It sounds like a nice project to me. I'm concerned. My only concern is the quality of the farmer's market, that it doesn't turn into a flea market. That is a concern that the one hesitancy I had with this project when I saw, and we want farmer's market, is that, and it becomes blankets and broken baby strollers for sale. And I don't want that. But the farmer's market concept is a good one. The project concept is a good one, and I think it's got a good community need for it, and I think it would uplift that community.
Commissioner Phillips.
I'm also in favor of this. I had advocated for something over in Quail Valley ever since I've been on the commission. I had the same concerns that you did as far as that is. And I really want to thank you for your contribution to this community, which has been neglected. And I want to thank you for that. I don't really have a problem with either one of the proposals.
Jody.
Big fan of the project. I think I appreciate you upgrading the architecture. Appreciate you renaming it out of the respect for Quail Valley. And yeah, I've no issues. Thank you for the planter box. I think that'll, as small as that might be, it'll add a big, that drove past that corner, it's beaten up. So the planter boxes will be real nice. Yeah,
Commissioner Madrid.
I'm very impressed with your project. You didn't cut any corners. You dotted all your T's, crossed all your I's, and you even included a handicap ramp and ADA parking. So I applaud you on this.
I'm for it as is as well. Appreciate you investing in the community very much. So, having said that, do we have a motion for the first resolution, PC 16-245, for the plot plan, Quail Valley Market?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number PC 16-245, approving the plot plan number 2015-130.
And do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Mark Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Robert Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Randy Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Earl Phillips,
Yes.
and Chair Chris Thomas.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Do we have a motion for Resolution PC 16246 for the CUP for the sale of beer and wine?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number PC 16-246, the conditional use permit number 2015-257.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Madrid seconds. Let's go ahead and do roll call.
Commissioner Mark Doty,
Yes.
Commissioner Robert Carwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Randy Madrid,
Yes.
Commissioner Earl Phillips,
Yes.
and Chair Chris Thomas.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Call your contractors. Thank you. Okay. Next item is the appointment of members to the Menifee Citizens Advisory Committee. Bob, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, just real quickly, I believe it was Commissioner Sobek and Commissioner Carwin who were on that. It's up to the commission, and what staff is asking is to replace at least Commissioner Sobek's on that with another member of the commission, and/or if you decided you wanted to change, or if Commissioner Carwin didn't want to do it any longer, you could reappoint somebody else. So we're just pushing that before you this evening. If you provide me with a name or two names, however, I'm going to assume Commissioner Carwin wants to continue on that. I haven't talked.
Yeah, I'll continue on the
That's
advisory committee.
And if there's appoint another commissioner, just so I can relay that then to staff, that's all we would need. And you can do that tonight.
Commissioner Phillips or Madrid or Doty, do either of you want to be on that committee?
Just so you know, the main function that we had last year was approving the community block grant program. We had applicants come in, all different varieties of local charitable businesses who need money that we're getting from the county and just the state? It's a state fund.
Those are federal.
Those are federal funds. Yeah, so it was kind of nice to see the money going directly to folks in the city, and I think we met 3 times total. It's not that big a burden.
Right. It's not a lot.
So would either of you like to serve on that? Don't leap up. Hey, Commissioner Phillips has a full plate.
Yeah, I've already overcome myself. It's too many other things.
Okay, I'm kind of in the same boat. So Commissioner Madrid, you have the time and means to do it?
I'll make the time.
We appreciate that. Okay, so we have Commissioner Madrid and Commissioner Kerwin. Do we have to vote on that or just say it?
Consensus, yeah, I think just
Done.
all in
Okay.
favor, say it. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys doing that very much.
Real good. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Um,
And congratulations.
on your instant promotion. We're actually going to talk about another possible promotion here, but first, do you have any comments, Bob?
Just real quickly, I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Madrid and welcome.
Oh, yeah, we were going to give him a little
And if he-
two-second
and
spotlight
maybe-
here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and for the record and for our fans out here, what do you do, how long you lived here, and whatever.
Okay, I, at the present time, am a consultant to developers. Okay, so those are your big developers too, so they do business with the city. My background is civil engineering. And I moved to Menifee in 2008. I was working for Pacific Communities, and I went on my own a year and a half ago, so July 2014. So I was honored that Mayor Mann asked me to be planning commissioner, and I'll do my best to use all my experience and lean on the wisdom of my fellow commissioners and the planning and city staff and city attorney and city clerk and citizens of Menifee.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I was telling him on the phone, we have kind of a diverse experience level up here. We touch a little bit of everything, which kind of everyone brings a little different perspective to the review, which I like. So we look forward to having you here.
Thank you.
Bob, any other comments or anything we need to know about?
Nothing at this time.
We don't have any committees to report on, but we do want to discuss, if anyone has any other items you want to bring up, the chair position will be up for appointment or discussion next meeting? or-
Typically, or the reorganization of the commission usually occurs at the second meeting in January, so that would be for the chair and the vice chair position. Those are one-year terms essentially on that, and those are selected and nominated amongst the commissioners. So that'll be on the agenda for at the next meeting.
So think about if one of you would like to do it. I'm not power happy here, so I'm willing to step down, let someone else drive the bus, as they say. So if one of you would like to do that or be vice chair, let me know. Let us know. Think about it, and we'll talk about it at the next meeting. And we'll discuss it. Anything else? Anyone else want to bring up anything? If not, then do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.